Yo, what's up guys? Rebirth here, back at it with another yapping session. You'll be seeing a few more of these sorts of videos in the winter time. Can't really ride super aggressive in the winter. Cold weather, rain, potentially snow, that kind of thing. So I guess I'm stuck to making some more of these type of vlog content style videos. Some of you might be wondering where the CBR 500R went. I actually sold it and then I replaced it with a ZX6R and then I actually like low-sided it. But I'm okay, the bike's being fixed, everything will be good. And this is sort of my other bike. I own this as well, so you'll see this on the channel more in the next few weeks, the next few months. And I plan to make content with this alongside the ZX6R, so neither bike is really going anywhere in the short term. So I kind of want to talk about what the experience is like owning a sport bike, you know, as a young guy living in typical high cost of living city in North America, specifically Canada. For you guys that don't know, I live in the lower mainland of BC in Canada, in probably what is the most expensive city in North America, essentially. And sort of with that in mind, there's a lot of like issues that I have to deal with that you guys who live in a similar place or be in a similar situation as me might not have thought of. Before I was riding motorcycles, I was kind of like consuming social media content, that kind of thing. I was really watching a lot of YouTube videos and I came across channels like the typical stuff, S1K Rocket, Jigsaw, Brian 636, these sorts of creators. And I sort of got caught up in the whole sport bike thing, sport bike, naked bike thing, you know, watching people have fun on highways, in twisties, track, that kind of thing. So I was like super excited to get into motorcycling, as you can imagine. And when I first got into motorcycling, basically what I would do is I would try to daily as much as possible. I had the CB300R, I had the CBR 500, as you might know from watching this channel. And I was sort of hit with this difference between what I expected it to be like and what it actually was like riding those types of bikes like daily. Not so much the CB300R, but more so the CBR 500. Since that's the bike I kept for a lot longer. And obviously the first issue that I wanted to talk about was that, you know, what you see online with people like cutting up, doing twisty roads, highways, that kind of thing, that's not the reality of what it's like to ride a motorcycle and live with it long term, right? Like I said before, if you're a young person in Canada, you basically live in one of like 3 or 4 places. Something like 70% of Canadians live in like 5 areas or something. And because of that, in my opinion, our cities are actually like very, very congested. I'll pull up a report on the screen from TomTom about the overall congestion times in North America, and a lot of the top cities that you can see are in Canada. And I think it's something like Vancouver. If you're in the city, it takes about like 27 minutes to do 10 kilometers of transit, which is around like 6.2 miles for you Americans watching. The point that I'm trying to make is that our cities are very, very congested and busy. Even outside of peak hours, as you can see, this is 2 p.m. on a gray Saturday afternoon. There's not anything notable happening, and this is like a neighboring suburb, right? And you can see all the cars here. And before you ask, no, lane splitting is not legal here. And if you do it, people will get mad at you. And our lanes are actually so narrow sometimes that you can't even like lane split if you wanted to break the law, you know? Like I would not be comfortable lane splitting here. Low key. Like look at how little space there is between these 2 cars, right? And this is Richmond. This is a neighboring suburb of Vancouver. In Vancouver, the lanes are like even more narrow than this. And you might ask, like, hey man, like riding in the city like sucks balls anyway. Why are you talking about this? And the reason I'm talking about this is because the best parts of riding in Vancouver are the areas surrounding it, right? So stuff like the mountain run that I first did, the very first video I ever posted on YouTube. Actually getting to some of these twisty roads could take you like hours sometimes to get to because of how congested our city is. The very first video that I posted on this channel, stuff kept going wrong and it took something like 2 weeks to actually film. Like actually getting to that road, the road that I did that run on, that mountain road, it took sometimes an hour to get there and an hour to get back in peak traffic times. So the actual twisty run itself is only like 8 or 9 minutes if you exclude the highway section at the beginning of that video. So what ends up happening is you take time to get to the area that you want to ride in, but the actual ride itself is shorter than the effort that it took to actually get there. Meaning you just spent all this time and gas money and wear and tear on your vehicle just getting to the place that you want to go to, right? And that kind of sucks, like low key, right? Because you're paying for all of that either way. And you might ask, like, okay, you could go on off-peak hours, and I try to do that. In the summer, sometimes I wake up at like 7 a.m. to go riding, right? Some of those videos are filmed really, really early in the morning. But, you know, I'm making this video for you guys who are sort of in my position or were in my position. You have to be realistic with your expectations on what riding motorcycles are like, right? You might not always have time in off-peak hours to go do these things. And the thing that really sucks about the lower mainland is that you'll have traffic congestion even at like super weird freaking hours. Like it'll be like 11 p.m. in like Surrey, for example, and there'll just be like traffic, right? There'll be a traffic jam in the middle of a bridge, that kind of thing. So knowing to like mentally prepare yourself for that kind of situation to happen is really helpful, because I feel like that allows you to enjoy the hobby more, you know? Speaking of being a young person living in Canada, you know, for all of you guys who don't know, our wages aren't like particularly good, and our housing market is like high-key like kind of fucked up. And all of this affects you if you're a young person more, right? Like, you likely don't have a lot of savings, you don't have as much work experience, you don't like make as much money on your job, and your insurance is like low-key gonna be like pretty fucked up if you're younger, because you don't have a lot of driver experience. What that means is, you're gonna be spending a significant portion of your income on this hobby. And like I said before, because the cities are the way they are, you're actually spending a huge portion of your money relative to the hobby, not actually even enjoying the ride, right? Which like really sucks, if you think about it like that, right? Like I'd say, when I was dailying the CBR 500R in like busy city streets, and I was like going to get groceries with it, going to the gym, that kind of thing, I'd say about 60 to 70% of the time, it was not really that fun. And like I only really got to like really push it and enjoy it about 20 to 30% of the time, which isn't bad, right? But you know, if you think about it like that, that means I technically didn't have fun more than half of the time. And I'm paying insurance no matter what, right? When I'm going out, I'm paying gas no matter what. And that's also something you have to keep in mind if you want to pursue this kind of hobby, get a sport bike, that kind of thing. Another thing you have to keep in mind, if you live in a city, you have to deal with riding the motorcycle in the city, and in my opinion, city riding is like low-key the most dangerous riding, right? Because you got all these like intersections, you have traffic, you got people like not checking shoulders, that kind of thing. You know, where I sort of live right now in the lower mainland, you know, neighboring suburb Richmond, there's like a trend of cars just like reversing and driving into buildings, that kind of thing. Like low-key, I feel like people need to retake their driver's lessons, man. Like in my opinion, you shouldn't be able to just get a license and have it for life, you know? There should be like some sort of retesting system, especially if you're older, man. Like, I feel like some of these guys, like, they don't know what they're doing, low-key. So now when you compound all those factors together, right, you're in a city where it's really congested and busy, there's a lot of traffic, you're paying a lot of money to partake in this hobby that you might not even like fully enjoy. And on top of that, you're putting your life on the line every time you go out in the city, man, like with these drivers out there. So all that is stuff that you have to really think about before you start riding sport bikes or dailying sport bikes, that kind of thing. One of the advantages that I hear people talk about is, in a place like Vancouver, you can technically ride all year round, which is, I kind of like do that, right? Like it's December right now, I'm riding, you know, because of our relatively mild weather compared to the rest of Canada. A lot of situations, it's still not that fun, you know? Like I said, for the reasons above, plus you can't really push it in the winter that much. You can't really lean the bike over when it's like raining hard or whatever. Dude, speaking of traffic, look at this, man. 2:30 p.m. on a Saturday? This bridge doesn't really like go downtown, by the way. It just connects like a neighboring suburb to the main city. And look at how narrow these lanes are. I would not feel comfortable lane splitting. Call me a pussy if you want, but you know, I don't care. I ain't doing it. Anyway, just because you can ride all year round doesn't necessarily mean you'll have fun or even feel comfortable doing it, right? And at the end of the day, I feel like motorcycles are meant to be a recreational thing, specifically in North America. I feel like it loses a lot of its charm and its appeal if you're just like not having fun. You're actively like tormenting yourself with all the bullshit that you have to deal with. Like I have a friend, you'll see him in some of the rides that I do and I post in the future. He rides an adventure bike. It's a CF Moto Ibex 800. He has luggage, he has heated grips, he has heated seat, cruise control, but even he won't ride in the winter, man. Because he's not comfortable doing it and he doesn't think it's fun. And you know, I sort of agree with him to an extent, right? Like what's the point of getting into motorcycles if you're not gonna have fun, right? For me, my mentality moving forward after experiencing motorcycles for more than a year and a half, I sort of take in the bad with the good, right? It might not be the most fun thing in the world 60-70% of the time, but you know, I'd rather be on two wheels if the weather's decent than on four wheels, right? It's still more fun to do stuff like this, even if I'm not like totally pushing it. And you know, I feel like the 20 to 30% of the time where you actually get to like push the bike and do cool stuff, you know, that makes up for the bullshit that you have to deal with, as long as you're really careful. Guy on Reddit actually told me to sort of maximize the time I have enjoying the bike, I could go for longer trips instead of going for short ones, right? Which is sort of what I did, right? Like one of the videos that I posted, it was actually in Kelowna. I think it was like a 2 or 3 day trip that I went on, and that road is like super sick. I totally want to go back to that road again. So to make it short, you know, set realistic expectations, think about things clearly, handle your finances well, and you make the decision whether or not you still want to like do this kind of hobby, right? I personally think it's like worth it still, even with all the negatives attached to it, right? Because I just like it like that much, you know? But yeah, that's all for me, guys. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Peace.